Freddie Jenkins here. Welcome to my second year anniversary. Now today, I've been thinking about doing a review on the top 10 horror themed comedy films. There's lots of them. I had to pick 10, so this list was very hard to create. But here we go. Number 10 is A Haunted House. It stars Marlon Wayans, but no Shaun Wayans, unfortunately. I don't know why he wasn't in it, Shaun Wayans. He does great in almost every film I've seen him in. He's been a good main character, and I like him a lot better than Marlon, honestly. That's just my opinion, but I think he puts more into the characters, as Marlon Wayans, he tries, but it's a bit annoying. I don't know, there's a big difference between them, and I personally think Shaun Wayans is a better actor. I think he makes a better main character, but he is not in this, and Marlon Wayans is the main character of the film. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. It has quite a lot of sexual and racist jokes. I just didn't care for that sexual jokes and the racist jokes, but I give it a 5 out of 10. Definitely not as good as what the other Wayne films have been, like Scary Movie, White Chicks, and all the other ones I've seen, but I can't really remember the titles. Check it out if you haven't. It's pretty good, except for, like I said, the racist and sex jokes. Number 9 is Dracula Dead and Loving It. Now, Dracula Dead and Loving It is a very funny horror comedy film about Dracula. It's pretty good because it was directed by Mel Brooks, and he's a pretty funny guy. I liked most of his movies. I just did not care for Blazing Saddles all that much. There's something about it that it just isn't really that funny. However, Dracula Dead and Loving It is actually pretty great. I like Leslie Nielsen. He's the best part of the film. He captures the audience's attention. He just does such a great job at playing Dracula. He's the reason why I watched it, and he had me laughing the whole way through, and every time he was on camera, he's just hilarious. I love Leslie Nielsen. He's awesome. It's too bad he passed away a couple years ago. But overall, I give the film a 7 out of 10. It's pretty great. I love the atmosphere. There's just one question I have. During the scene where Lucy rises from the grave, she bites a grave digger, or the Undertaker, whatever he is. If she bit him and drained him of all his blood, wouldn't he be a vampire too? But no, Mel Brooks finds his dead body, and what the hell happens to him? Overall, it's a pretty great film otherwise, and if you haven't seen it, check it out. Number 8 is the movie The Leprechaun. Now, I know this may seem a little bit weird. It's more of a horror film, I know, but it's got lots of comedic moments in it. I like to think of it as a horror comedy, but some people really think it's more of a horror film, but yeah, it's really funny. It's a pretty good film. I like Warwick Davis as I think he should be a comedian, but I don't know. He's a pretty good actor though, but yeah, most of the movie is pretty funny. Kids about 5, 6 years old will probably be laughing at it. I know I was when I was little. I saw it at my grandma's house. It was on TV, and I just laughed the whole way through because it's funny seeing a midget leprechaun killing people. If you haven't seen it, check it out and tell me what you think about it, because I really thought it should be a horror comedy, but some people think it's just a horror film. But overall, I give it a 7 out of 10, and yeah. Number 7 is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, this list would be incomplete if you did not have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I mean, the whole concept is hilarious. Oh, alien clowns coming down from space, killing people in the most comedic ways possible. The whole concept is hilarious. You will laugh. Even kids 4 years old would not be afraid of it. There's nothing scary about it except for the way the clowns sort of look. I mean, some of them look a little bit freaky, but they are pretty hilarious. If you haven't seen it, check it out. You will laugh your ass off. I give it a 7 out of 10. It's one of my all-time favorite horror comedies, and I just think the list would be really incomplete if you did not have it on it. Number 6 is Beetlejuice. Now, Beetlejuice is sort of a wacky film. It's pretty complicated, but it does involve death. Michael Keaton is pretty freaky looking, dressed as Beetlejuice, and I think some kids would be a little bit afraid of his looks, but he's really funny. When I was a kid, I always used to think Beetlejuice would be just a horror film, you know, like a zombie killing people. That's what I thought it was going to be. I never really thought of it as going to be funny until I saw it. I had so much fun with it. It was funny. Tim Burton should make more horror-themed comedies like this, because it's really good. I loved all the acting, and it's just awesome. You gotta see it. Overall, it's an 8 out of 10. I'm already halfway done with this list, but let's continue. Number 5 is Scary Movie. Now, Scary Movie is basically a parody of most of these horror films like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, all these 90s horror films, and it was pretty good. The Wayans brothers are always funny, like I said, most of the time. Shaun Wayans is hilarious as Ray Ray. I have to admit, though, I kind of felt freaked out when, I can't remember if it was in the second or the first, he had his legs crossed and he went tucked in, tucked out. That part just sickened me. Other than that, the film was pretty good from what I remember. It's pretty funny. Check it out. And I give it a 7 out of 10. Number 3 is Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Now, I gotta tell you, when I saw it, I thought it was going to be stupid. I really did not think it was going to be funny, because the whole idea of kids having accidents as deaths really doesn't interest me, like Final Destination. But I really thought the whole concept of them dying by so-called accidents, it just doesn't sound interesting. But, however, though, I really thought some of the performances by the guys playing the hillbillies were pretty funny. I really didn't think it was going to be funny, but wow, it's a great horror-themed comedy. If you haven't seen it, check it out, and I guess don't judge a book by its cover, because this one is actually pretty funny, and I didn't even expect it. And neither will you, unless, of course, you've already seen it. Number 3 is Shaun of the Dead. Now, Shaun of the Dead is hilarious. It's way better than Zombieland. It's the horror-themed comedy about zombies that I actually cared for. I did not care for Zombieland at all. I thought it was stupid, boring, and I did not care for Jesse Eisenberg. He's not funny. I can't stand any of the characters in that movie, except for Bill Murray. He's the only good thing about the film. But Shaun of the Dead is a great British zombie film. It's hilarious. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are the best British actors I've seen so far who are comedians. I also saw their new movie, The World's End, and it doesn't beat Shaun of the Dead. I thought Shaun of the Dead had lots of what the F moments. I love Shaun of the Dead. It's one of my all-time favorite movies ever. I gotta say, I give it about a 9 out of 10. Because it's such a great film. If they made a sequel, it'd probably suck. So, no hopes for a sequel. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And I didn't mean to sound too biased about Zombieland. Zombieland has its moments where it's funny, but it's just not as good as Shaun of the Dead, I think. Shaun of the Dead is easier to understand with a comedy as Zombieland. You're just waiting for it to happen, but Shaun of the Dead is filled with comedy. Zombieland has a couple moments here and there, that's about it. Number 2 is Addams Family. The overall concept is them trying to find Fester, and it's basically a criminal tries to get some money to help himself and his family, and it's basically what happened in a couple of the episodes of the TV show, and I liked it a lot more than the TV show. Christopher Lloyd was great as Uncle Fester. Raul Julia was pretty great as Gomez. He just captured the audience with his performance, and I just really thought he was great as Gomez Addams. Other than that, if you haven't seen it, check it out, and it's a 9 out of 10. Number 1, you ready for this? Is Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks is one of Tim Burton's best films, I say. It had a strong concept of killing off all the famous people, and I just love the film. It's just out of this world, I have to say. It's basically the idea of killer clowns from outer space, aliens coming down, wiping us all out. It takes itself seriously, because the idea of aliens killing people is pretty serious, but the comedy is more on the performances, you know? It has a couple moments where it's funny. There's this scene, they are discussing what the aliens are really like, and then this woman has this guy's voice and asks, "Do the Martians have 2 sexes like we do?" And then they just stare at her like, what the fuck? The comedy, though, is, like I said, more on the performances of the actors, because they just act freaky in a way, and I really think it's one of the best ever, and I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 because I love it so much. Lots of famous people, I know almost all of the actors and actresses. It's just one of the best films I've ever seen. Thank you, Tim Burton. You have done a good job. 2 of your movies are on this list. Mars Attacks and Beetlejuice. Now, those films are great. I give you lots of credit, Tim. Give yourself a hand. You deserved it, man. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this list. Give me some feedback on any other horror comedies that you want me to check out or think are worth watching. I just did not care for Zombieland all that much. I gave it a 2 out of 10.